I'm Samantha, and this is my sister Lisa.
Hi.
Welcome to X-UMED. So a couple of nights ago, we went and saw the premiere of the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. They actually went by the script of the movie word for word, scene by scene, and a lot of other live actions don't do that. I was
They
impressed.
tend to change it all together.
So we went and actually saw it in a 21 and over movie theater, where they come out to your seat and serve alcohol. We don't give a shit about the alcohol. We just don't want to sit in a movie theater at our age anymore and deal with children and deal with teenagers being assholes and being on their phone. But yeah, the friends of ours and Brooke, they were in toothless onesies, and it wasn't abnormal. Think about it, like people in their 30s and 40s were seeing this movie, and everyone brought their like toothless stuffed animal, or they wore toothless, and I brought my Build-A-Bear.
You were with your own people.
Yes. And I don't get excited about like animated movies other than Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon, but I had to do it. It's like they knew not to fuck with that movie and don't piss off your audience. It was perfect.
Good. Everyone should have that mentality. Don't piss off your public. If you're going to redo a movie, the reason why people are going to see the movie is because they liked the original. Don't fuck it up.
This is going to be a little bit of a gruesome episode, so trigger warning, it's insane asylums. So all the things that you think about with insane asylums, it's a trigger warning for that.
Maybe mental illness too.
Yeah, it's definitely mental illness, as well as suicide, spousal abuse, and LGBT. It's a lot of things.
You've all been warned.
Well, I didn't know how to start this research. I'm thinking about it, and anytime that anyone thinks about insane asylums, everything is so damn gruesome, and it's all the same things. I've listened to other podcasts, and it talks about the torturing and the techniques, but no one actually gets into the history of it. And my favorite part is the history. So we're going to go back to as far back as 918 CE, whatever the hell that is. So the very first known insane asylum or psychiatric hospital was established in the Arab world, specifically in Baghdad and Cairo, and that was in 918 CE. Before these institutions, individuals with mental illness were often cared for by their families. But after that, the next known hospital was founded in 1247, and that's called the Bethlehem Royal Hospital in Bromley, London, and it's also known as Bedlam. So people still refer to it to today as Bedlam. Well, it was founded in 1247 during the reign of King Henry III. I love how all of my episodes somehow comes back to England.
Yeah.
Or London, I'm sorry. London. It was established by the Bishop-elect of Bethlehem following the donation of his personal property by the London alderman, I'm not sure what that is, and the former sheriff, Simon Fitzmary. Historically, it was the worst asylum in the era of lunacy reform. The monks were devoted to healing the sick paupers, which paupers is a person who does not have the means to support themselves or who is of poor relief. At some point, the monks began to accept patients who had symptoms of mental illness rather than the physical disabilities or disease. So they were just trying to heal the sick, and then mental illness came into it. By 1403, the hospital's lunatic patients were the majority of the patients. It then became England's first and most famous mental institute. So for the most part, they stopped healing the sick, the physical sick, and went to mental illness. Around 1346, as the hospital struggled to survive, the City of London ended up taking it over. Those who became patients were usually the poor and marginalized, sometimes believed to be dangerous, who lacked family or friends to support them. So normally the friends and family would take care, like hide away their mentally diseased people. So they started shipping them off to the mental insane asylum. So the hospital regime was a mixture of punishment and religious devotion. Chains, shackles, locks, and stocks appear in the hospital's inventory at that time. So we know what chains and shackles are. Shackles usually go around your hands and legs.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that locks are what goes around your neck.
You mean stocks?
Stocks. Stocks usually go around your neck.
Did they have them in, I'm picturing like a stone.
Like dungeon?
Like a dungeon,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most of the things, I mean, we're talking about the medieval times, and most of it was made out of stone. Well, the shock of the corporal punishment was believed to cure some conditions, while isolation was thought to help a person come to their senses. At the same time, it was a religious duty to cure and feel compassion for the people afflicted by the mental madness.
Well, at least
So,
they had that in mind.
yeah. So there's a quote. I don't remember who it's from. I'm not sure if it was actually recorded on who spoke this. One can hardly imagine a human being in a more degraded and brutalized condition than that in which I found this female. The woman, Anna Stone, had been found naked, filthy, and chained with several others against the wall of a damp, dark stone cell. The inspectors thought it had the appearance of a dog kennel. For the most part of its history in Bethlehem was the only dedicated mental institution in Britain, which automatically made its medical staff the foremost experts in the diagnosis and treatment of mental illness. Medieval thinking held that madness was a disease of the body and not the brain. All right, so you've got the only mental hospital in the country of Britain. Of course, all their doctors would be the experts in that field.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Well, they also thought that all mental illness could be cured by inducing reoccurring bouts of vomiting and diarrhea and bleeding from the veins. So since it was a disease of the body, you have to figure out a way to get it out. They believed ridding the toxins of your body would release the mental illness. The skin would be blistered with caustic substances, and patients would have their heads shaved and be placed in cold baths. This regimen, I can't say that word.
Regimen.
Yeah, would be administered repeatedly and as long as the strength would bear of the patient. Inevitably, it led to deaths. All right, so now we're going to get into 1750s. This is where shit starts to get interesting. It's nicknamed the Madhouse Tourist.
The Madhouse Tourist.
Let your imagination go with that a little bit. Tourist.
I am. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So around the 1750s, Bethlehem was accepting tens of thousands of paying visitors a year, making it a top tourist attraction of Londoners.
People would come and pay to see.
Yeah, second only to St. Paul's Cathedral in popularity.
My God.
Yeah, so St. Paul's Cathedral. It's still one of the most visited places in London to today. Okay, so the visitors came to witness crack-brained patients. For 1 penny, anyone could gain access to stare, taunt, or abuse the inmates.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit. Charging admission and accepting donations was also lucrative, raising up to £450 a year at the hospital. So today, £450 would be roughly 127,000.5 pounds.
Wow.
And I don't know what that is in American money. I don't remember the conversion of that. Most Londoners seem to have visited the Madman's College. So you think about how many people are in London at that time, or at any given time, and most of them were visitors. It was like a zoo.
That's disgusting.
There was a quote. We heard such a rattling of chains, drumming of doors, ranting, hollering, singing, and rattling that I could think of nothing but the damned broke loose and put hell in an uproar. And that was from the patients. When a patient ignored a viewer, the viewers would throw rocks at them. Some patients threw the rocks back.
Good.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
All right, so let's move on from there. That's all screwed up.
I'm gonna try, because that's
disgusting.
That's so fucked up.
1750s. Okay, so I'm trying to think of who was king at that time. I'm trying to go back to the Revolutionary War. Who was king at that time? I don't remember. But I'm also thinking of like King Henry VIII and Elizabeth I and Queen Mary. They were all in reign while all this shit was going on. Okay. All right, so let's go to 1814. A mental health committee observed the hospital. Conditions had not changed. Patients were still locked up and naked to walls, freezing with nothing to protect them from rats and weather.
Why did they do that to them?
Who the hell knows?
Was there a point, or did they just put them down there to forget about them?
It's probably a combination of that and them being overrun, like too many patients. I do remember reading that it was beyond their max capacity, but the church no longer owned this hospital. London did. The site The sight that most shocked the committee was that of James Norris. He was described as a clear and lucid man who had been tightly chained by his neck to an iron bar in the wall, with additional metal restraints to his chest, waist, feet, and arms.
And he was a sane and lucid man? Is that
Yeah.
what you just said?
Yes.
Why was he there then?
Someone in the family probably thought that he belonged there.
For what?
Who knows?
There's no context to that?
No, there's no context. Norris complained that his muscles were wasted away and painful following a decade of confinement. Bethlehem's medical staff were immediately dismissed at that point. So they're starting to do the reform, and this is in 1814.
Good.
And now, apparently, in 1830, it is reformed. The care had improved, but on another official visit, they found an orderly in the female wing drunk with some of his clothes off.
An orderly?
Yes.
Okay. What was he doing?
I mean, he had his clothes off.
Oh.
When asked about what the duties of this guy was, officials answered, smoking and taking the heads off of dead patients occasionally. Oh, I forgot about this.
What the fuck?
It transpired the Wright had developed a Frankenstein-like fascination with the dead and had created his own laboratory in the hospital's basement.
My God.
Clearly, he was dismissed. Oh my God, I forgot about this. Oh my God,
It's not funny.
It's not.
We're laughing out of shock.
Yeah. Because, I wrote this up a little over a month ago. A lot has happened in the last month, and I forgot about this.
Yeah, we're rusty. We had to take a break for a while.
Yeah. All right. So, in 1930s, Bethlehem was relocated to Beckenham in Kent, where it continues as a psychiatric hospital to today. Bethlehem Royal Hospital continues to operate as a hospital for mental health treatment, but its history is a significant part of the understanding of early psychiatric care. All right, so we are done with London for now.
Okay.
Let's jump across the pond to America, because things can't get any better there. Here.
Oh. I
Here
can't
we
wait
go.
to hear about it.
All right, so we're going to go to Williamsburg Public Health Hospital.
Okay.
It's the first American mental health hospital, and it was built in Williamsburg, Virginia in 1773. Although it was shut down for 5 years during the Revolutionary War, it was raided for supplies for both sides during the Civil War. So, I mean, it was on and off. It remained in continuous operations till a large fire claimed the structure in 1885. Public hospitals were America's first mental asylums, providing treatment to countless patients around the country. In its early history, the hospital was tainted with mistreatment of its patients, some being treated worse than inmates in a state prison system. Patients endured cruel and unusual punishments, long periods of isolation and confinement. Patients were shackled to the walls and slept on the floors or on dirty, straw-filled mattresses. I'm just going to go through this quickly because it's a lot of what we already heard. Patients were forced to take immense amounts of drugs. Some were dunked in cold waters with their hands and feet bound in order to rid their bodies of the disorders. Others were jolted with currents of electricity to remove negative energy from their scared and abused bodies. Between 1861 and 1879, over 30% of the patients died. It still stands today. In the 1930s and 1960s, it was relocated to better grounds for expansion, and then it reformed and changed. So not a whole lot to really say about there. There was the Royal Governor, Francis Fauquier. I'm not even going to try to say that name. Yeah, so he was the Royal Governor of Virginia. He played a pivotal role in establishing the first publicly funded mental health facility in America. He spearheaded efforts to address the needs of individuals with mental illness, which included petitioning the Virginia legislation for resources and advocating for the construction of the dedicated hospital in 1766. Before this governor, he did a lot of speeches. A person who was mentally ill was not diagnosed by a doctor, but by rather judged by 12 citizens, much like a jury, to be either a criminal, lunatic, or an idiot. So
what?
Yeah,
a criminal, a lunatic, or an idiot?
Well, at that point, During that time, an idiot was someone who could not read or write.
The shitty names that people
Yeah.
had for things back then.
And he has a quote: "It is expedient, I should also recommend to our consideration and humanity, a poor, unhappy set of people who are deprived of their senses and wandered about the country, terrifying the rest of their fellow creatures. A legal confinement and poor provisions ought to be appointed for the miserable objects who cannot help themselves. Every civilized country has a hospital for these people, where they are confined, maintained, and attended by a physician, to endure, to restore their lost for reason." So he was literally just trying to say that every other country has this, so he was creating his own mental hospital to help them.
Yeah, because they needed to be taken care of, but they needed to be taken care of with respect and dignity and not laying in their own filth, naked and cold.
Yeah, well, that doesn't quite go away. But in America, the Williamsburg Public Hospital was the first one established. And that was in 1773. It still stands today. It's in different locations.
What do you mean it's in different locations? Like
It's been rebuilt.
rebuilt in different places?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the old grounds still stand to today. But, I mean, there isn't much to say about that. But now that we're fully talking about America now, let's go to New Jersey. You ever heard of the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital in New Jersey?
No.
I think that actually might be what House on Haunted Hill might be based off of.
Really?
I think. I could be wrong.
That's one of my favorite horror movies.
Well, it was founded by Dorothea Dix in 1848. It was the first public mental hospital in the state of New Jersey. 1907, Dr. Henry Cotton became the medical director, believing that infections were the key to mental illness. All right, so we are going to start getting into the more fucked up things.
We warned you in the beginning.
Yeah.
So let's do this.
The history is over. Let's get to the present day, as present as we can. All right, so Dr. Henry Cotton was a screwed up guy. He had his staff remove the teeth and various other body parts that might become infected from the hospital's patients. And it usually was sterilization and sometimes organs. So teeth would automatically come out. But he
all
liked
of the teeth?
All the teeth.
So you're admitted into the psych ward to get help, and the first thing they do is remove your teeth.
And then you get sterilized, and sometimes your organs would go with them. Cotton's legacy of hundreds of fatalities and thousands of maimed and mutilated patients did not end with his leaving Trenton in 1930 or his death in 1933. In fact, removal of the patient's teeth at Trenton Asylum was still the normal in 1960.
That is way too late for that shit to be happening.
Way too late. In 1940, this guy named Muriel Gardiner, highly doubt I said that name right.
Is it Muriel?
Yeah, that looks right.
Muriel Gardner?
I think so.
Okay.
He remarked on the high rate of organ removal at the hospital. Even in some of the x-rays showed no infection. So yeah, you remove the organs. Like, mental illness is not a body thing. It's a mental thing.
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be no infections on the x-rays.
Of course not. The
cure rate was said to be 85%. However, the mortality rate was extremely high, and he didn't always have permission to perform the surgeries.
But he did them anyway.
Oh, yeah. Listeners, do your homework. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this Dr. Henry Cotton. We can go on for an entire episode about it. But he is kind of the grandfather of horrible mental illness practices in America in the 1900s. There is a testimonial for Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. It's by Barry. I worked there in the early 80s in a prison unit called the VRU. It was a violent place. We had the worst of the worst in the New Jersey prison system. I can't find any record of this place even existing. I know I'm not crazy. There's another one. It's anonymous. My uncle was there around 1952. I never found out what happened to him. When did he die? Where is he buried? And who do I contact for records?
My God.
So not only are these people getting completely screwed, like their family doesn't even know anything about it. They're trying to act like this place really didn't exist. I mean, it still exists.
There's no record of it even existing?
That's what they say, but clearly I can find records. We are talking about this. It exists.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was something good to put in.
That's weird.
But yeah, Trenton Psychiatric Hospital in New Jersey is known to be the worst in the America. I'm not going to read all of these. Between 1864 and 1889, I have a list of like 100 reasons why people were admitted into the hospital.
PMS is one of them, probably, right?
Probably. I mean, it's an alphabetical order. Kicked in the head by a horse, heredity, predisposition, hysteria, immoral life, jealousy. I'm just going to go through and pick out the fun ones.
Okay.
Laziness, marriage of son.
What?
A mom was being overbearing and her son got married, it sounds like. Masturbation and syphilis. Masturbation for 30 years. Medicine to prevent conception. So birth control.
They were put in asylums for wanting to use birth control?
Well, birth control didn't exist then. I don't think condoms exist then, but there was something else that they used. Like sheepskin or something. I can't remember.
But that's why they were put in there, or they were put in there as a form of birth control?
No, they were put in there for these reasons.
That doesn't make any sense. Okay, go on.
Menstrual deranged. So that's PMS. Nymphomania. Opium habit. Overaction of the mind. Overstudy of religion. Overtaxing mental powers. Tobacco and masturbation. Political excitement. Bad company. Bad whiskey, brain fever, death of sons in war. Okay, I get that one.
I get that one, yeah.
Deployed in the army. I get that.
Yeah.
Again, deranged masturbation.
There's a lot of people committed for masturbation.
Desertion by husband, domestic trouble, excessive sexual abuse. Okay, I'm not even going to touch that.
What?
Excessive sexual abuse. I think the person abusing should be just in jail.
Yeah.
Got a couple of more I can go through. Fighting fire, fever and jealousy, exposure in army, suppressed masturbation, suppression of menses. I don't even know what that means.
It would be like using tampons and pads.
Oh, okay.
Why would you be committed for that?
I don't. The war, time of life, uterine derangement. Okay, that's still period.
Yeah.
Women in trouble, superstition, shooting of daughter, gathering in the head.
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know.
Gathering in the head.
Seduction and disappointment, self-abuse, sexual derangement, and let's go with the final one, female disease.
Female disease. Half of those I don't even understand what they mean.
Smallpox, snuff eating for 2 years.
The fuck is snuff eating?
I don't know, but this is between 1864 through 1889. Reasons for admission. Okay, well, you want to talk about the treatments?
Sure.
So again, trigger warning. So many of the treatments were said, what would make a man mad go insane would make a man mad sane, which is actually on House on Haunted Hill too.
They say that?
Yeah, it's someone was put into like the spinning, I think it was Jeffrey Rush. Jeffrey Rush was put in there. And it said, well, what would make a man go sane would make a sane man go mad. I think I said those words right. Bleeding and purging was number one. Again, they thought that the mental illness was sickness of the body, not the brain. Patients were also prescribed for weeks of forced bleeding, vomiting, and diarrhea in order to purge the body of the melancholic humors?
Melancholic.
There we go. Caustic substance were also applied to the skin to make it burn and blister. So try to rid out the toxins. There is rotational therapy. It was developed by Darwin. I'm not going to try to say that first name. He is the grandson of Charles Darwin.
Okay.
Rotational therapy usually involved placing a patient in a chair suspended from a beam by the ropes and attached to their legs. The chair would be turned 20 to 40 times in one way, and then they would spin them backwards. So make them dizzy as hell.
Thinking that they're gonna unscramble their brain?
It would usually make them throw up. It would go on for an hour or two, 3 to 4 times a day for a month.
Make them throw up because they still at that time thought that it was a bodily thing and not a mental thing.
Yes.
Okay.
It was thought that this treatment would induce vomiting and diarrhea to rid the sickness as well as restful sleep in a patient, kind of like rocking a baby. Okay. So
okay.
Yeah. Okay. The swing chair could also be used as punishment. as a way of asserting dominance over patients who refuse to comply with the staff's orders. So you're gonna use that as punishment. You actually think it's gonna cure people? Like, you don't do something that's good to then do something that's bad.
Yeah.
The next one is cold water therapy. Cold bathing was introduced in Bethlehem in 1680s. It became a way of shocking inmates out of mental illness. It remained a popular course of treatment for much of the 18th century. Patients could be submerged in cold water for long periods of time, wrapped in a towel that had been soaked in ice or sprayed with cold water. So
What did they think this was going to do?
who the hell knows? I mean, it was a way of shocking patients out of mental illness. I mean, I can't wrap my mind around what they were thinking then.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to try not to interrupt you
No,
anymore.
no, go ahead. You know what a lobotomy is? Everyone knows what a lobotomy is.
I know what a lobotomy is. And back then, I have no idea what they were even thinking because there's no way that they knew what part of the brain they were hitting and what they were doing.
Well, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
It was first introduced in 1888. So I have conflicting information on when it was last used. Apparently, it was in 1967. There's other accounts that say that's not true. So the procedure involved inserting a specialized instrument through the eye socket to sever the connections in the brain, aiming to treat the mental illness. As the name suggests, this was a surgical procedure in which a neural connection to and from the prefrontal cortex of the frontal lobes of the brain were severed. I don't know much about the brain. The idea was if you could damage the connections, you could stop the bad behaviors. And the problem was that lobotomies didn't just stop bad behaviors, they damaged people's memories and personalities. By 1972, approximately 50,000 lobotomies had been performed on United States patients, mostly in asylums. So, okay, it first started in 1967, 1972, so over 5 years, 50,000 lobotomies had been done. However, less than 350 lobotomies were performed per year in 1970. So, it's saying that the last lobotomy was done in 1967, but we're still in the 70s, or we're getting into the 70s now. And only 350 were done per year in the 70s. But by then, medication dominated mental health treatment. So, yeah, now we get to start taking pills. So, long-term studies of post-operative patients finally confirmed that the treatment was worse than the disease, and the lobotomies were discontinued in most of the country by 1960.
Good.
But the creator of lobotomies, Freeman, remained a strong advocate all his life. But one thing that I actually kind of forgot about, I don't think many people know of this, JFK's sister, Rosemary Kennedy, she had 3 lobotomies.
I think I knew about that.
She suffered from mental health, and after her 3rd lobotomy, she ended up passing away. But JFK was a huge advocate for mental illness because of his sister.
Well, yeah. I wonder what she passed away from. 3 lobotomies?
She probably passed away from
the lobotomies?
Yeah, the repercussions of what happened afterwards. I mean, you're severing shit in your brain. Your brain is no longer communicating with different parts of your body. They didn't know that then.
Didn't stop them from poking around in there.
No. And it's also called what, like toothpick something? Ice pick surgery. We've got electroshock therapy, psychiatric treatment involving the use of electrical currents to induce and control seizures in the brain. It's primarily used to sever the mental health conditions like depression, bipolar disorder, particularly when other treatments were not effective. It is actually still used today. So they put different electrodes to your brain and turn up the volume.
They still do that today?
In very extreme cases.
Okay. I didn't know they still did that today.
I didn't either. We've got forced drugging, doctors administered drugs such as opium and morphine, both of which carried side effects and the risk of addiction. So, I don't know, let's pump someone with insulin and morphine and don't think that they're going to get addicted.
Yeah, really.
But then toxic mercury was used to control mania. Then there is barbiturates. Can you help me pronounce that?
Barbiturates. Barbiturates. Barbiturates.
What is that?
Drugs. It's a different type of drug.
Yeah, it put patients into a deep sleep thought to improve their madness. Chloral hydrate came to use in the 1950s, but like other drugs before it, had side effects, including psychiatric episodes. So while we're trying to treat mental illness, let's go ahead and give them psychotic episodes.
Nice.
Okay, cool. And then there's insulin shock therapy. Insulin shock therapy injected high levels of insulin into patients to cause convulsions, and a coma. After several hours, the living dead would be revived from a coma and thought cured of their madness. This process would be repeated daily for months at a time, with doctors sometimes administering as many as 50 to 60 treatments per patient. However, the procedure was obviously risky, caused amnesia. Nevertheless, the treatment proved popular based on a questionable success rate.
What did you say about the living dead?
They would go into convulsions. They would have amnesia, and then they would essentially be like the living dead. So you do remember in American Horror Story Asylum, after Jessica Lange had her electroshock, she was like the living dead.
Yeah, she just kind of walked around and had no idea what was going on. Yeah, okay.
So those were the main forms of therapy. There's other forms: chaining patients to walls, 24-hour restraints to their bed, sedating patients with water, using patients as exhibits for the public entertainment, but we talked about that in like the 1500s, 1700s. Sending women to institutions became because they were troubled, and then forced sterilization. But JFK also did help reform mental hospitals in the 1967, which helped end most of those practices.
I would hope so.
Well, remember me talking about husbands just kind of leaving their wives' places?
Yep.
Here we go.
This is so stupid.
Oh my God. So we're going to get into that. And yeah, again, trigger warning for spousal abuse and anything to do with LGBT. In the late 1800s through the 1960s, it was uncommon for husbands to commit their wives to mental asylums for a variety of reasons. Some of it was genuine to mental illness. Although, wives who asserted behaviors in the marriage, her desire to assert herself, not following the commands of their husbands would go ahead and just, hey, take her.
Definitely be in an asylum.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say that word. I would definitely be in an asylum. I don't listen. I talk back and I don't listen.
So this practice was a reflection of women's limited rights and the lack of legal resources against abusive husbands. Women during this era often had few legal rights and were not able to easily challenge their husbands' decisions, leading to involuntary commitment to asylums. Newspaper accounts from that era documented cases of women being confined against their will for years, even after gaining their release through the help of sympathetic attorneys. One account even reported a woman who threw herself in front of a train to avoid being admitted into an asylum.
I think I probably would too.
I don't blame her. So let's also add in, when men were abusive to their wives, it was easier for them to ship them off to a state hospital than force criminal charges of their own. I mean, if a man had to abuse their wife, then the wife was doing something wrong. So she was mentally imbalanced. Women should, in a healthy, normal state, look pretty and smile at all times.
Fuck that.
And then, yeah. And then a lot of husbands ended up coming back. It's like, oh, well, I still need her. I didn't have dinner. I need her.
My clothes aren't clean.
My martini wasn't made. Now we've got homosexuals. While not illegal, you could expect to be labeled as insane and carted off to an asylum if your family wanted it. It was to limit the embarrassment of having homosexual in the family.
Wasn't it sometimes because they thought they could cure it?
Yes. You could be forced to take mercury, causes organ failure, muscle weakening, anxiety, memory problems, emotional instability, and numbness and pain. In the 1930s and 40s, you'd be forced to take hallucinogens that could also inflame traumatic, terrifying experiences and memories. You'd be locked in at night while people suffered different attacks, anxiety disorders, night terrors, and schizophrenic episodes all around you. How that was supposed to cure stress, anxiety, and trauma is completely bizarre. So they tried to put the homosexuals in with the worst people thinking it would scare you straight. Many vulnerable women were raped by senior officers or important visitors. Many were beaten and assaulted by sadistic staff. Thousands of women died in asylums around the world with drug addiction. They were alone, frightened, and unloved. Some of the things as small as disobedient towards their husbands. Some include electroshock therapy, nausea-inducing drugs during Jesus. Okay, so now we're getting into what they thought was the cure to turn people straight. They would use electroshock therapy and nausea-inducing drugs during presentations of same-sex erotica images with the objection of strengthening heterosexual feelings.
You know what?
That's
They
an American Horror
covered
Story.
that in American Horror Story.
With Sarah Paulson, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was ice baths, freezing, burning via metal coils, and hard labor were also punishment. The intent was the subject to associate homosexual feelings with pain and thus result in being cured. These methods have been concluded to be ineffective and inhumane.
No shit?
Yeah, no shit. There's a lawsuit that was filed in 2024.
Or what?
A lot of it is Trenton State Hospital.
A lawsuit was filed against
Trenton State Hospital and 3 other hospitals.
In 2024?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the suit blasts 4 state psychiatric hospitals for violent conditions, unconstitutional policies in New Jersey. So they were refusing to discharge patients cleared for release, which violates their due process rights equal to getting a drink of water. So people have been released, but they're not being released.
Yeah. They're released, but they're not being let go. Wait, they're being sued in 2024. Are they still open?
Yeah, these cases are still open.
And they're still doing this fuck shit to people?
Or, yeah, the case hasn't been closed.
They know better now.
Oh, they know better.
Oh, that pisses me off.
People are being kept involuntary in the facilities as inpatients according to the complaint, even when they have been approved for release. The suit contends that some people are forced to wait months, if not years, for release. So the papers have gone through that they're released, but they're not released. When they are released, it is often to inappropriate placement just to get out of the hospital. Any medically required meds they normally have, such as HIV and AIDS medications, they are only given 3 days worth and left on the streets or quickly into a halfway house at most. 90% of these patients who do have HIV or AIDS quickly find a way for themselves to be reincarcerated because they want their meds back.
Yeah. I wonder if the hospital doesn't want to let them go. So if they let them go that way, they know that they're going to come back. But
that's also the same thing with American prisons. Elton John actually advocates for just this thing. In the United States, this is a leading cause of HIV and AIDS death or reincarnation so the patients can get their meds. Elton John is the leading donor of HIV and AIDS. He has his own foundation, Elton John's AIDS Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Around the world, he is the largest donor to curing HIV and AIDS. And he talks about this in one of his books, that most of the patients in the United States who have HIV and AIDS come from prisons or insane asylums. And that's also why so many prisons are still full beyond capacity, is because a lot of people are trying to go back in because they don't want to die on the streets. They're pretty much left at a bus stop with 3 days worth of their medication. And then they have no means of getting anything else.
How are they even expected to rehabilitate themselves after they're released?
America doesn't care about that.
When they're set up for failure.
The American government doesn't care about it. It's not their problem. So the suit seeks to host remedies, including an order requiring the timely discharge of people who the court has ordered no longer need to be hospitalized. Also sought are monetary penalties when the state does not release individuals within 60 days. So people have been incarcerated for years, and now the state is saying, okay, you have 60 days to do so. The lawsuit alleges that in one case, a patient at Trenton Psychiatric Hospital was sexually assaulted by the staff members while another staff member stood guard, and then the patient was forcibly restrained for the time being. Another patient suffered lasting damage from a traumatic brain injury after being assaulted repeatedly by several other patients while the staff did not intervene at all. An assault at Anne Klein Hospital led to 5 stitches, while one at Greystone resulted in shattered eye socket. And there's a quote, "Imagine living in an environment where even the most basic choices are taken away from you. When you wake up, when you go outside, when you have a drink of water, and in a place of psychiatric treatment, you're faced with boredom and violence on a daily basis." And that was said by Bren Pranick. It's a disabilities rights New Jersey attorney. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. So the lawsuit is still going on. I mean, it hasn't even been a year.
Wow. I can't believe that shit's still going on now. I wonder what their reasoning is for it. I mean, nobody cares about people. I mean, there's a handful of people that actually get into that stuff because they actually like people and care about them and want to help them. But mostly it's just for money, I think, in my opinion. And they don't really care about the people that they're supposed to be taking care of.
I think that people probably get into it because they truly do care, but the funds that are given is minimal. The regulations have increased throughout hundreds of years. I don't know. I just can't say. Well,
I mean, even if your funding is shit, you can't treat people like that.
no.
You just can't. I can't think of an excuse for it. I can't think of anything that makes it right.
Nothing does.
Mm-mm.
I mean, that's why there's Mental Health Awareness Month. I think that's in June or July. I can't remember. But do you know that Briarcliff in American Horror Story was actually based off of a real institute?
They do that a lot. That doesn't surprise me.
It was based off of Willowbrook State Hospital in Staten Island, New York. It was ran between 1947 and 1987. It was the biggest state-run institution for people with mental disabilities in the United States. In 1965, Robert F. Kennedy stated that the rooms were less comfortable and cheerful than the cages in which we put animals in a zoo.
Oh.
It could only hold 4,000 people at max. It had 6,000 people.
Where were they putting them?
They were just putting them wherever. If you remember, towards the end of American Horror Story in Briarcliff, they were just throwing people wherever.
Yeah.
There was no order.
Yeah, it got really bad.
The reputation was that of a warehouse for the New York City mental disabled people, many of whom were presumably abandoned by their families, foster care agencies, or other systems designed to care for them. So families would throw people in there, foster care would throw people. It was all in one, similar to Briarcliff.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Riviera's expose motivated by John Lennon and Yoko Ono to hold a benefit concert for Willowbrook, performing 2 shows at Madison Square Garden on August 30th, 1972. The recording of the concert was released after Lennon's death. There's a documentary about it. But like in Briarcliff, Sarah Paulson's role was actually a real person. I did not write that down, actually.
Oh, I can't remember her name.
Lana Winters. There we go.
Lana Winters. Yes.
Yeah, she was based on a real person.
Oh, it was. Lana Winters wasn't a real person, but she was based off a real person.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought she was like portraying an actual person. You know what I mean?
No, she wasn't portraying. It was based off of a real person.
Okay.
I mean, a lot like the American Horror Story and Girl Interrupted. You remember that one?
Yep.
A typical day in a psychiatric hospital, while varying based on individual needs in a specific facility, generally involves a structured schedule with a balance of activities, quote unquote, balance of activities. There was therapy and downtime. Patients typically woke up, have breakfast, participate in group therapy, receive individual therapy or medication adjustments, and may have free time to engage in recreational activities. So that's what each state states that the normal day of a patient, but they're ignoring people chained up to walls naked.
Yeah.
So I didn't get too far deep into what goes on now, but with that lawsuit, we can only assume Not a whole lot has changed.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were still doing that kind of stuff.
No, I didn't either. There was the Toledo State Hospital. And in another one of our episodes, we talked about that. We were talking about abandoned cemeteries. And I could not find anything negative on Toledo State Hospital.
Yeah. I remember that one.
They had woodworking shops. It was like its own community for the mentally ill or the mentally unstable or however you want to call it in the nicest way possible.
Yeah.
But they had a full community where there was one house that was designated to making clothes, woodworking. It was educating people. It was keeping their interest at bay.
That's how it should be.
So it wasn't, not all of them are bad. But if it wasn't for all of this, we wouldn't understand mental health as we do today. But still, mental health is still a major issue that people overlook.
Exactly.
She's just being hysterical. Well, why? Why are you calling this hysteria when it's more than that? Mental health is still a major issue today around the world. Don't just go locking someone up for it.
Well, everyone's brain works differently. And when you have mental health issues, it's hard to figure out, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what's going on because everyone's different. Everyone's brain is different.
I mean, we were just talking about ADHD a couple of weeks ago, or ADD, and how millennials and Gen X weren't really exactly tested.
No, we weren't tested for that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. I'm pretty sure I do. But no, I was never diagnosed with it. Somebody said once that, Gen X never really got diagnosed for anything, which makes for very interesting people now.
And then there's the sensory issues that some do have. Like, I didn't realize, like, when I make dinner, I have to constantly wipe my hands on every single thing. Like, I'll have like 3 washcloths and they're all soaked because I'm constantly wiping off my hands. I'm constantly rinsing. I don't want anything on my hands. And apparently that's a sign of ADD or ADHD. I don't know which one.
I have a sensory issue where I don't like fans blowing on me. Like if I'm working, I have to turn all the fans off. I'd rather roast my ass off than have a fan blowing on me because it feels like it's an oppressive feeling to me. I can't stand it. Like my hair will be back. It's not blowing my hair everywhere, nothing. It's just I can't stand it blowing on me.
It's almost like a form of torture, like tickling.
Kind of. Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. Like mental illness in so many different ways. And everyone likes to say that you have a problem. But with mental illness still being such a stigma to today, I mean, no wonder why people still get shipped off. I mean, I think that's horrible that husbands shipped off their wives because they didn't make dinner that night. They were unruly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, haven't you ever kind of wondered, like, when Brooke's like in a bad mood and you're like, you're not acting like yourself. What's wrong? You know what I mean? Instead of the husband saying that, like, what's wrong? Why aren't you being yourself? You're not doing what you usually do. Instead of doing that, they were just like, oh, you must need to be committed. I think it was a form of punishment too.
Probably.
That's what it sounded like.
For anyone more interested in things like this, watch American Horror Story Asylum, which is season 2.
Pretty historically accurate.
It is. Then there is House on Haunted Hill and Girl Interrupted. Those are my 3 favorites.
Yeah, I mean, they're fictional. They're all fictional, but they're historically accurate when it comes to insane asylums. I said it right that time.
Good job. Gold star.
Thank you.
They're historically accurate in the sense that these things did happen. But, I mean, House on Haunted Hill did play. I mean, it's House on Haunted Hill.
Exactly. Of course it's fictional. Of course it's fictional, but the things that they did to the patients, things like that really did happen.
Yes. But I think that is all I know for now.
Alrighty then.
So I would say have a good night and try not to think about this. But remember, we talked about Toothless. So think about Toothless fucking around and watch that before you go to bed tonight.
Yeah, this one was rough. This one was really disturbing.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I like rough and disturbing things, but oh, damn. That was an interesting one.
All right. Well, everyone, have a good night and tune into whatever our next episode is.
Thank you for listening.
See ya.
See ya.